Welcome to the card shop. What can I get for you today? One SP Little Knight, please. I know it's just a piece of cardboard, but the Link 2, that seems to be pretty good right now, so I think that'd beef up my strategy. Sure, that'll cost you $99, one arm, one leg, a kidney, your dog, your girl, your house, your car, and it'll have a 7% interest rate that you'll have to pay back as soon as this format is over. Well, alright, I guess that's the price of living. Can I at least get, like, a transfer kidney back or something like that? No, that goes to Konami corporate office. That's for them. You're not getting that back. Look, y'all, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is expensive. This little piece of cardboard right here can run upwards of 100, 200, 300, even thousands of dollars if it is a collectible item. And right now, if you haven't been on Yu-Gi-Oh! Twitter over the weekend, you might not know, but this little card called SP Little Knight has been making the rounds and starting up the conversation of, is Yu-Gi-Oh! Too expensive? I feel like we go through these cycles every once in a while with Yu-Gi-Oh! Where sometimes you'll have these formats that seem pretty diverse and pretty affordable for most players, and then you get hit with some of these formats like recently I could think of Tier Limit, where that was Tier 0. If you weren't playing Tier Limit, you basically weren't playing the game, and how that deck even then was about, like, from what I remember, $500-$600, but we're doubling that today. The most recent big YCS in Indianapolis just had its winner, Rescue Ace Sinful Spoils, at almost $1,000 for the deck. And that includes copies of SP Little Knight, a new generic Link 2 monster that is just a full power creep upgrade over IP into Unicorn that we've known from the past. If you want to compete at the highest level of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, or even if you just have a competitive locals like mine, you kind of need these cards to compete. Now, there is the argument that, hey, there's technical play involved, you've got to make the right plays, etc., etc. Sure. But my argument back to that would be, there's only so much that a player can do when the odds are just there stacked against him. Equality versus equity, right? I can work really hard to become the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Player that I can be. But at the end of the day, my toolbox doesn't have the hammer that I need. I don't have the tool that I need to reach that next level, and my opponent just might, because they happen to have a better financial situation than I do, and I don't think that's fair. Yu-Gi-Oh! Should be a game about skill and skill alone. There should be some back and forth, there should be some whoa crazy top deck moments, or like big crazy boss monsters, but at the end of the day, most games should end with a skill match between two players, and the more that outside factors come into the game to ruin that, the more I'm not going to like it, and the price of a card is one of the biggest outside factors that you can have in a card game. Look, really my argument boils down to poor people and people without the means to be able to buy these expensive cards probably already struggling hard enough, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an outlet. It's a hobby, it's a way to make friends, it's a way to pass the time, it's something fun to do, and to hurt that hobby, to make it harder for that person to play the game when it's already probably hard enough just to buy a simple deck that you might want to play or get some simple staples they might have saved up for, I think that sucks. I just don't think there's justifying staple cards being expensive. Konami is fully aware of it and does this on purpose. It's quite odd also that sometimes we'll have very high competitive budget decks, like when Super Heavy Samurai came out and was extremely budget, and it immediately gets hit on the ban list just like that. Whereas we get these formats where we have really long stretches of time where decks are extremely powerful but cost hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and we kind of just sit with it for months and months and months on end. It doesn't sit right with me. It feels a little strange. Now, I'm not saying there's never been formats in Yu-Gi-Oh! That have budget decks and that have lasted a long time, but recently, it's leaned definitely more heavily into the expensive side. The other thing is, again, Konami does know what they're doing. They specifically printed Little Knight in only 2 rarities, that being the secret rarity, which is the second hardest thing to get from the new sets right now, and the quarter century secret rare, starlight rare, whatever you want to call it. So it artificially just inflates the price because it's harder to pull. Compare that where the OCG, where I've seen those things go as low as $10 because they print it not only in high rarities, but also in lower rarities that are more affordable. I don't understand anyone who would defend this practice in TCG when we can see in Japan in the OCG that they're allowing players to play more budget, whereas here they're specifically pricing the cards and specifically rarity hitting these cards so that they are harder to pull and the price goes up. They're not idiots. They know that that happens. I just don't understand why we can't get that same sort of format, why we can't get a super rare of this card while also getting the secret rare. So if you want to bling out, go for it. But if I just want to play the card because it's good in the deck and I want to be competitive and I want to play the best Yu-Gi-Oh that I can play, I'm not being punished just because I don't have a whole lot of money. Now, this isn't a unique problem to Yu-Gi-Oh, nor is it a unique problem to card games in general. I mean, card games, just the way they are, they're gonna have expensive cards in them, and sometimes it's going to affect the meta, but it happens in Yu-Gi-Oh a lot, and I think that's something that really needs to be rectified, and I don't really understand people who have been on Twitter defending it and playing defense for it. I don't get that. Very soon, the 25th Rarity Collection will be coming out, and this thing has been hailed as one of the best things to come in Yu-Gi-Oh product for a long time, specifically because not only is a collector's item, but also will help competitive Yu-Gi-Oh out becoming more affordable. Baron de Fleur, Pot of Prosperity, and a whole host of other cards are getting reprinted in multiple different rarities, from really high-end stuff like Starlights and Ultimate Rares to low-end stuff like Ultras and Supers, making these staples super easy to get and a lot more affordable. Whereas a Baron used to be $40, $50, $60, it's now going to be maybe 10 or less, which is huge for budget players, and I rightfully should give Konami credit for doing that, because it's going to open the door for so many different deck strategies and so many different amazing players to come into the game and be able to show their stuff at a locals or regional or a YCS who weren't able to do it before because they just simply couldn't afford it. But it still bothers me that at the same time they're doing that and finally doing something right and making Yu-Gi-Oh more affordable for lower income players, they're going to print a card like SP Little Knight and put it into Secret Rare and Quarter Century Starlight Rare, and now any of those players who are trying to get those level of decks and needed SP Little Knight, they're still not going to be able to get it, and they're probably going to have to wait a long time by the time they're able to get a reprint of it. And on that note, I also want to point out that it always feels like right when that happens, right when we got reprints of Ash, right when we got reprints of all these good hand-trap staples, here comes new cards that are just taking the world by storm and taking Yu-Gi-Oh meta by storm and once again becoming more expensive. It's like right as Yu-Gi-Oh starts to become more budget-friendly, right as it starts to open its doors, open the window for more people to come in, play the game, try it. You can jump right into the meta because the decks are not that expensive. The staples are cheap. They slam down these super powerful cards that just completely take that away, and now all those cards get power crept. And complacency, quite frankly, it doesn't help. I mean, if you're like, it is what it is, sure, bro. I mean, sure, yeah, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, complacency doesn't help anyone, and if anything, it's detrimental. The it is what it is mentality, the why are you whining about it, it is what Konami has done all this time, doesn't really help out much, and honestly just tells Konami, hey, Yu-Gi-Oh players don't care. They're going to keep buying it, so we're going to keep doing it. Screw you guys. And I really think that this is something that we should fight against constantly every time it happens. Yu-Gi-Oh already has a problem getting new players in. Yu-Gi-Oh has a problem keeping players. Yu-Gi-Oh has a problem with its price. And I'm not afraid to say it needs to change. It seriously needs to change if they want more people to get into this game. Look, I love Yu-Gi-Oh, and I understand that Konami has to make money from it, but I think they're really shooting themselves in the foot when they do practices like this, because it only makes it harder to get new players, and to be quite frank, it only punishes players who are already in the game but simply just play budget decks because Konami makes things too expensive. I mean, this is a deck that I've been trying to build for ages now, Salamangreat, but this little guy was so expensive for so long, and there's still other cards in this deck that I don't have because I just can't afford them right now, and I'm going to have to wait probably till after the holidays to get them. And that honestly kind of sucks. And this deck, it wouldn't even be that expensive comparatively to getting like an SP Little Knight. And I think that sucks. I want to be able to play the deck that I want to play. I want to be able to show off my skill and actually play with an optimal strategy and have the best chance of winning. I want to be able to lose because my skill was the only factor outside of maybe some luck of the draw stuff, and not because I'm just simply too poor. I think that sucks. I don't think that's a hot take. I feel like that should be a really normal take. I feel like most of us should feel that way, if not all of us. Twitter apparently told me that that's not the case, but what do you guys think? Comment below, let me know what you think about the prices in Yu-Gi-Oh! And maybe tell me how you would fix them. What is the solution to do this? Should we just do like the OCG does and print cards in multiple rarities right when they come out? Kind of what I think we should do. I don't see a problem with that at all. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit the like button if you like this discussion video, and hit subscribe so you get notified of all of my new future content coming your way. See you guys on the next one. Peace.